Hello, 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 everyone. Mike Arnold here, co-founder, Patrick Partners, along with Bob Iacino. How is everyone doing? Market in crazy rally mode. Crazy rally mode. Hello, hello, Sashi, John, Anissa. Good evening, Gary. Hey, hey, Waka Waka. Hey, Naz, Patrick, George, Rod. Wow, everybody's here. Let's see. Coco. Lauren. Where else do we say? AP's World. Let's see. Finally got the close above the 62 and a half in the S&P. We'll go through. Yeah, it was an insane move today. So, hey, JJ. Don't start. I will. If we have anything of stocks always do something up or down, I'm just going to boot you. We don't need it because they don't always go down, they don't always go up. So let's see. We've already went. If you missed the thing this morning, then we have inflation coming in better than expected, still 3% month over month. Looking deeper into the inflation data, a lot did pull back from a goods point of view, but services still has some very sticky inflation sitting around. We had a lot of Fed speak today, trying to reiterate they are not anywhere near being done. So, big green day. It was sort of hard to find stocks to short today. Again, sectors all the way up. Technology up 877 basis points. This was a multi-signal move. Still, we're at that 50 basis points for December. Fear and greed in greed mode. Again, there wasn't much after the close for major earnings. And tomorrow, not much before the open for major earnings. So that is all quiet. It's more the macro. Closing in on the next target. On the next target for the inverse head and shoulders. That was never done. And the next minor, if you're talking about the minor 62.5, yep, you're closing above that, which is the zone in right around the 200. And the next major 62.5 is still overhead. So that's where we stand. I just have this channeling pattern coming up here. Definitely time from my perspective to rate, being this close to the next target area. Definitely time to raise stops on any longs. Cycles getting to the top on the daily, top on the weekly. So now it shall get interesting. Also keep in mind the weekly 50 exponential is just overhead at the final target area. I am focused still on that weekly 50 and the daily 200. Key support coming back at 3,900, roughly 3,915. That's the little zone. Very overextended at this point, but it can easily keep going. Other than that, that's your key support level for any pullbacks. From an Elliott wave perspective, we are in a corrective pattern and we are entering the corrective pattern topping area. It is a topping area on a corrective pattern. So that's where, yes, the dollar was down big. Let's see, I'm missing some conversations. This is the biggest up move since how long? Is it since 2008? I didn't read the stats yet. So yeah, I mean, it was pretty much, again, like everything's fine. You see risk assets like the NASDAQ up 769 basis points, where the safer stuff, the Dow was only up 384. The 62.5 on the Dow, which was the next target area, 33,758. Seeing where we close today, right now we are 33,776. So looking like we might close above that also. What else? NASDAQ, again, that massive rally still in. What is interesting enough, yes, the double still is in play, but not confirmed or triggered yet. So that's what I'm watching for going into the end of the week. That's 11,734. And focused on the first and second targets if that does trigger and confirm and trigger. Why the first and second targets? Well, not only do we have this little sell-off, we have the 87.5 to 100%, and if you hit the first target stop reduction, it would be closing above the 62.5. You also have the 200 overhead, and you have these two targets within this part of the move that started it. This is technically the move that started it, so all three targets are valid, but I'm watching closer to this area. What else do we have? Notes triggered the daily double and closed above the 50, so we'll on any pullbacks are still a buy in the notes. The stop level, I'm going to give the most conservative one on the closing basis, would be back up below 110. All right, this is still lower probability because it is against the rotation zone, but it has so far, it's in the weekly rotation zone. So I would be focusing on the first and second targets, especially the second target being the candle wick breakdown zone. Those would be the targets I would be utilizing right there. Dollar index, taking it in the shorts, hitting that first target area from the triggered on the daily. This looks like, I mean, it's going to trigger on the weekly. I'm watching for this to continue to unfold back to this goes into the wicks on the weekly. I'm more focused on this 106.20 area, 106.26 area. VIX continuing down. What's interesting is on the weekly, your weekly key area is right at the bottom of that daily double area. Any bounce back in the VIX, remember we have OpEx next Friday. So any key resistance is now back at 24.30. Crude, very uneventful. Gold, now above key support. Finish the doubles. Gold above some key support levels. So now on a pullback basis for those trying to play it for longer term, 1734 is now key support. It is on the daily closed above the 62.5. So now targeting the 87F to the 100 with the key level about 1807 and the 50. Here's another play, PHYS, which we covered last week. Oh, PHYS. Also finished the double and now back above the key resistance level. So 1339 is key support. So that's, and then this is another great area. For next target areas to move up stops is a great area to use the reverse harmonics. 1353 right around this high from September 12th, then 1364. Here's another play for those that are interested. It's not triggered yet, but it is confirmed. You have a pretty substantial double bottom out of the way of the weekly rotation zone. And it might trigger on a weekly basis also tomorrow on a weekly close above 378.3. So pay attention to that. This can also be played with something like CPER. I don't know if CPER technically is not, but if you got a rally tomorrow, It technically didn't confirm it today, like the futures. But if this does probably trigger them, it would be confirmed tomorrow if it did trigger. Also into a clear path move. So that is another very interesting play if you want a metals play. Also on this CPER, the 50% retracement is the first stop reduction zone. You have a gap here right by the 62.5. So you could be interesting for copper. And my key targets are the first and the second one. First and foremost, why? Because the second target is right near a key breakdown zone. So there's another play. Euro from that double, which never got stopped. Remember watching for that close below the 62.5 from this level, which never happened. This was just tracking it. Now it's stop raise again. Your next target is 102.57, and that's pretty key for me because this last target was above the wicks right here. And you're coming up on this sloppy little flagging pattern. So I'm watching for that. The pound, the next target from this little area is the 117.80 to 118.20 area. Bitcoin bounce back play, not yet to key resistance, coming off in that harmonic holding. The 655 harmonics holding, which means now really nice with that little Bitcoin harmonic for stop lowering and or profit taking. Next major and next minors 14,299. Next major I'll be looking at is about 13,000 on the next rollover play in that. Where else? Tesla again retesting that harmonic zone, bouncing up. Cycles are turning up, so as long as there's not any more massive Elon selling, I'm watching for the next snapback play to the daily rotation zone with cycles turning up. Another great play today. I don't know if anybody spotted it. Apple, you can see this was even a valid double right here. You had to be pretty aggressive to take advantage of it, but the first and second targets are hit. The gap fill also was right behind the first target. The 50s overhead, so this is definitely an area since first and targets are hit if you are long Apple 2. Also coming off a bottom that held, and you can see that gap up. Is this a super long-term new high place in Apple? No. However, if you do get the close back above 148.91, I would be watching, at least from a short-term bullish for the next possibly 2 to 3 weeks, easy for a longer-term play back into this topping area with a retest of the 200. Cycles turning up on the daily and at the top but not rolled over at the weekly. That's the only negative. We'll be watching how this closes tomorrow, but it would definitely be in trailing stop mode. There we go. There we go. So there you now have fire on the mountain. Yes, it was bullish fire. I don't have long-term. Again, this is a bear market rally from what all the probabilities say. Nothing wrong with that. Can be played to the upside. We still have short-term bullish patterns in place. So, again, I'm going to be really focused with a reconnect of the 200. Is this anywhere near a long-term trigger yet? No. You can think whatever you want. Anybody here, I go off probabilities. If you have a system that guarantees that lows are in, that is fantastic. By the way, there is no system that is 100%. What can explain what the kill switch? What's the percent for it? What kill switch? Let's see. I'm just seeing if there's a question. Yeah, yields triggered the daily double top. That's they did in the 10-year, hitting the 50. Going to be watching. The first is back to a 3.728 yield, and then the next major area is this 3.65 yield. Where do we sit? I'm just seeing if there's any other questions. Let's see. Here we go. Where's the purple moving average? The purple moving average for the S&P is right here, but that won't tip it to lock. That will tip it to neutral mode. That will tip it to neutral mode. Again, I don't publish because I can't publish my long. Well, it's not just mine, the long-term system, but that is still distinctly in bearish mode. This would tip it to neutral mode on a weekly close above 40.40. All right, let's go over what we have for tomorrow. I went over earnings, which isn't much. The only thing is at 9 a.m. Central, 10 Eastern, the preliminary numbers for consumer sentiment. Coming in, projected to come in slightly worse than last time. Minor tomorrow. There's not much going on tomorrow in terms of earnings or, yeah, this is high, but it's a preliminary number. We still have a lot of bullish sentiment. Even if this were to miss, is not going to do much. Going to be interesting to see if there's some profit taking going into the close tomorrow. So that's where we sit. Can we look at Google? Oh, sorry, I gotta get back here. I was like, we can look at Google. Google closing in on the prior key breakdown area. And if you're watching the next, I'm going to put on the short-term stuff here. Oh, come on. Come on. The above here, above about 95, the key on a if it did major continue to rally would be about 103 area. The next key area I would be utilizing above 95.65 would be closing in with 98 with the 50 before the full gap fill would be closing in with the 50 exponential and the 98 area. But this would definitely be an area if you did get long to trail a stop pretty aggressively. I would be utilizing personally something below this key gap low. What's the 10-2 yield curve look like? Still negative 52. So not much move back to zero yet. And from the long-term perspective, the key thing I will be watching from a weekly basis is once we get the weekly close above the rotation zone, and that's all the way back at about minus 28 basis points. Because why is that? Because the daily is flattening out here, and we're sort of in this big consolidation pattern. We've had the dip below, the little break above, but overall, August, September, October, besides this little blip above and this little breakdown, has pretty much stayed in this consistent range. So the weekly, if you want to mark something on your charts, watch it on the weekly rotation zone. So, yes, the bond market is closed tomorrow. For Veterans Day, the bond market is closed. Keep that in mind. The stocks trade normally, but the bond market is closed. What are my thoughts on NVIDIA? NVIDIA going to be watching longer term for the next rollover play. The only thing that continues the bullish move in the short term, I need the close above 161, and my target is 176 area, then 182. There'll be another long-term rollover play for me if you're looking to. Cycles are getting at the top again on the daily and the weekly, so we'll be watching for a rollover play. However, we close above the 62.5 on a closing basis, I have to then watch for these upward price actions of this 182 area and retesting the 200. What's this? Twitter. What's Twitter Q? Elon warns Twitter Q. I don't know what that means, Lauren. So, I think I got to all the questions today. Again, I would be focusing on stocks that have gotten back above key breakdown zones or stocks that have held key support, and especially stocks that are closing above their 62.5 of the last retracement. Those are more the things that I'd be focusing on for a little more sustained rally. So that's where we sit right now. Oops, I didn't want that one. All right. I don't think there's anything else for me to go over. Elon warns of bankruptcy of Twitter. Oh, come on. You just... Don't get me started with him. Elon Musk, in his first address to Twitter employees since purchasing the company for $44 billion, said that bankruptcy was a possibility, according to a person familiar with the matter. I have no comment. I have no comment. So that's why you put Twitter Q. Since you probably have to just spell out all of Twitter Q, since TWTR doesn't exist anymore. Thank you for sharing that. I will have to catch up on the news. Thank you everyone for tuning in, and I shall chat. Sorry for the shorter session. I have some things I have to still wrap up. And it's a nice day before the weather turns here very, very cold. Could you imagine buying something for 44 billion and then going, "Hey, we could go bankrupt." Okay? Then who that makes who the moron? Who paid 44 billion? Just saying. You're welcome, Jacob. You're welcome, Ramsafal. You're welcome, George. Christoph. Thank you, everyone. Have a beautiful, wonderful evening. And yeah, of course he is. He's how many? Yeah, I don't even have more comments. I will chat with everyone tomorrow. Be back at 8 a.m. and have a wonderful night. Bye for now.